What's up, everyone? So check it out. I have been on the hunt for a coilover, which is going to give us hopefully something more like a Lexus ride quality. So we've done almost every reputable damper coilover under the sun, and we still get requests from people that want something that's even more comfy, something along the lines of a Lexus. So we have people, we always ask, what did you own before? Give us a frame of reference for what kind of a vehicle you want this to ride like. And a lot of people will come back with, oh, I had a Lexus or something of that sort. And I'm like, I don't know if I exactly have something that'll do that for you. Secondly, we have a lot of people that do not want to lower their vehicles. And when you get a really soft suspension, you can't lower the vehicle. The spring rates are just too soft. The valving is too soft that if you lower it, you'll pretty much just be engaging and bouncing off those bump stops prematurely. Well, it turns out that Redwood Motorsports has released a product called the FPX Coilover, FPX series, that is more affordable, and they call it the Cloud Spec. So check this out. So right there is the Cloud Spec. All right, that's their little sticker. Anyways, this coilover here does run very similar to factory spring rates. The set we have here is for the Model Y. This does not use an Öhlins damper, which is a huge part of the reason why it's so affordable. The price range, they have three different spring rate options. There's a Performance Sport, which I believe is $2,545 retail. They have the GT, which is $2,645, and that's what we have here. We wanted something that has like a grand touring ride quality. What I understand is that this can give you the more floaty Lexus type of ride, hopefully. And then they have the GT HD. I believe that's what it's called. And that is $2,745 if I recall. That one gives you a slightly higher spring rate in the rear in the event that you are going to tow with your vehicle or carry a heavy payload. They increase the rear spring rates on it. So I'm going to go ahead and go over some of the product with you guys real quickly and also explain some of the more involving things that you'll need to do or take into consideration when assembling these dampers. It's not as easy as some of the other coilovers, which are just fixed length, like a Mountain Pass Performance coilover. These do have a separate shock body and lower fork or lower bracket assembly. For that reason, you need to really know what you're doing in terms of setting up the shock lengths. When you contact us, we will provide you those measurements so you understand what the compressed and free length of these shocks need to be before you install the springs and set the ride height. So let's get into it. All right, I've already assembled the rear damper. As you will see, this rear damper is inverted, and the adjuster, the rebound adjuster, is on the bottom. So this is a single adjustable shock. It's inverted. And up here, you'll basically just take the upper mount. There's a 14mm bolt, and you'll just bolt that onto their bracket right here. I did put just a drop of blue Loctite on this bolt because I didn't want it to back out on me. The only thing you'll have to really take into consideration is this little, there's like a material here. It's kind of like a, I don't know if you would call it a bump rubber, but it's there to basically help distribute the forces if this compresses in this upper mount, so you don't blow this upper mount up or blow it out. So you'll want to make sure that you install this red piece here onto the bracket, and then the factory upper mount on top of it, and then install this 14mm head bolt in there if you want. Put a drop of blue Loctite there. When you do install this damper in the vehicle, we will give you these measurements so you have the total length of this shock to match what we recommend. You will also potentially want to put a drop of blue Loctite behind this collar here, because this can potentially come a little bit loose. And this is what I say, this is a separate assembly. So you got to make sure these lengths are set. Don't just take them out of the box, throw them in the vehicle. You want to set it up. So if I was a shop, I would charge extra money to assemble and install these coilovers versus, say, something like a Mountain Pass or a KW or something that has a fixed damper length. There's just a little bit more involved in it, and you need to know what you're doing. You need to know and understand the concepts of the compressed lengths and the free lengths of these shocks, so you don't mess things up. All right, so that's the rear. For the rear spring, you have your factory rubber, okay, isolator. This goes on the chassis this way. This is their threaded spring perch adapter. You will want to set this measurement according to the values we provide to you. That'll get you hopefully in the ballpark. Again, you can't really lower this vehicle much. I've asked Redwood to provide us with data on setting this to my factory performance Y height. That should be around 415 millimeters from the center of the wheel or the hub to the bottom of the fender. Long ranges are around the 430 to 435 millimeter range. So performance-wise are lower. But that's nice. You get to reuse this piece. Let's get into the front damper. Now, the front gets a little bit more involving. You've got, obviously, the full extended free length of this. You'll want to make sure you match this up just like you would get advice from us on how to set the rear. You'll want to set the front up. Then in addition to that, you're going to end up getting some values to set this spring perch. This spring is going to go on to here. You're going to want to make sure that you remove this knob. Okay, so they will give you an Allen. You remove this knob. Once that is removed, you know, they'll give you a bag of hardware. So they give you a nylock nut. You're going to need to take your factory upper mount and remove the factory rubber isolator, okay? They're going to give you their own rubber piece, which will go there. Now you've got a little bit of a stack thing going on. You've got this metal washer, that's going to go on here. Then you've got this little, you know, Delrin bump thingamajigger. You got a spacer here, that's going to go in there. And now, this damper has an actual M12 shaft diameter for the pin top, so it will not go into the factory upper mount. The factory shock is an M10, so it's a 10 mil. You will need to drill this out. So just a heads up on that. For that reason, I was not able to assemble this for you guys, but you'll drill this out, you'll put this on here, and that's essentially how you build the front shock out with the factory upper mount. Now check this out. Here's the exciting thing. They actually have produced an OEM replacement upper mount that is modular and has a rubber bushing or rubber guts in that upper mount. Check this thing out. This is what I've asked them to provide for us on the damper we will be installing, because I didn't want to drill out my factory upper mounts, and I want to be able to swap between all the different coilovers that we test very easily. So check this out. This one's already assembled. This is going to be super, super exciting. I mean, we've been waiting years for somebody to manufacture an upper mount. Since you can't buy these from Tesla, this is going to be a game changer. You can actually change the inside of this out to a 10 or a 12 millimeter shaft diameter. So if we do this right, we can retrofit this upper mount to Mountain Pass, Unplugged, Tein, all of them. All the ones that I know of on the market, and you know, anything that takes a 12 mil. So Unplugged is 12 mil. Redwood FPX is 12 mil. Olin's, I believe, is 10. Mountain Pass is 10. KW is 10. So this is a huge game changer. I can't wait to get these things in the Y. If you do get this mount, some of these measurements will change, so you just got to make sure you check in with us so we can give you the values you need. You essentially don't need any of this. You don't need any of these pieces anymore. These pieces. You literally just take this, and this is going to just go right onto here. I'm sorry, upper mount is going to go on here, which can't exactly do. This goes on top of the bushing, and then the nut goes on top of there, and then you'll reinstall the adjustment knob on the top there, and it will end up looking just like that. Just like that. All right, so without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and get these installed on the Y. You will take note that because of this lower fork, this beefy fork here, the width of this is different, so they will provide you with a new bolt. So you'll replace this bolt, and you'll use the factory nut right here. So don't forget to do that. Let's get this thing installed on the Y, go take it for a test drive, and come back to you guys with the results. Let's see if we can get something that's really floaty. I am not a super floaty suspension kind of a guy, so I'm just trying to find something that will meet the demands of some of the market. We're gonna go ahead and get this on there. I wanna thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you'll find this informative. If you do want something that's super cushy, this might be it. We'll let you know at the end of the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Tell all your friends. I can't tell you how many people contact us and thank us for the quality of our videos. Big shout out to Tim for doing all that. You know, Tim is the man behind the camera, does all the shooting and the editing. We are all very grateful to you guys for reaching out to us and just letting us know that you appreciate what we do for you. Let's get these things on the Y, go for a test drive, and share the results. Thanks for watching. All right, guys, so I've got the Redwood FPX GT coilovers installed on the Model Y now. I put my 21-inch Uber turbines back on it so we can give you guys the ultimate test, the ultimate review with the factory wheels and tires. Keep in mind, I like square setup, so I am running a 21 10.5 front and back. So this is a 275 in the front and the rear. But let's go for a test drive and see how these things are. All right, so we're in the Model Y. We're gonna go for a test drive. Now, I have actually been driving this for about 4 days now, but I had my 18-inch Spirit AF10s on it. They were 18 10.5s. I have a Falcon 510 SUV tire on them. It's a 250/550 18, so it's a super chunky tire. I did have the assumption that those tires were gonna be super comfy because I dropped to an 18-inch size. It's got a super fat, taller than factory diameter, fat sidewalls, and that was just not the case. You guys might recall in one of my prior reviews of doing the MPP fixed damping coilovers, I actually had the same wheel and tire setup on that, and I got those coilovers on it, and I was like, huh, these aren't as comfy as I was hoping for, and well, it turned out to be the wheels and tires. So what I did on this round was I put those really stiff sidewall 18-inch tires on the wheels and on this car for the FPX initial test drive. Went through, did that, and now I put the factory 21-inch Uber turbines back on it so I can really see what it's like for most people who will have their factory wheels, factory Michelin AS4 tires on it. So yeah, let's go. We're gonna be heading to one of our favorite parking lots, and it's got some speed bumps and stuff. So one thing I will say is the way that this thing handles speed bumps and potholes is impressive. I am the type of person who's been driving lowered cars for the better part of 30-something years. So I have always been the type of guy to crawl down driveways and crawl over speed bumps. I've never just gone at speed over stuff. I'm gentle. Anyways, for this purpose, I was like, you know what, let me just kind of mob over some stuff and see what happens, and I was quite impressed. Now, when I first installed them, I believe these are 22-way adjustable. When I first installed them, I set them at 12 clicks open, closed being the stiffest setting. So I counted backwards from stiff, righty-tighty, all the way to stiff on the Redwood coilovers, the FPX coilovers. Then I counted back 12 clicks, front and rear. I liked that, moving around town. It was fine. It wasn't until I got on the freeway and proceeded to go longer distances where we were hitting a lot of ruts on the freeway and stuff like that, that I felt it wasn't soft enough. So I spoke with the owner at Redwood, and he had advised me to set them to 18 clicks open in the front and 16 in the rear, which is where we are at now. So again, these do have Swift springs on them. They do run a near factory spring rate. These coilovers are not designed to be lower. I'm at factory Model Y performance height. So if you're that type of person that doesn't want to lower the vehicle, this is probably going to be a really great setup for you. They are in the upper, $2,500, $2,600 range. But yeah, this might be the coilover that a lot of people are really looking for. In fact, I think these are even more comfortable than the Tein shocks themselves. So, I can already, if you want a much more muted feeling, then this is going to give you that. It's not going to be a Lexus by any means, but it's going to definitely be a lot more cushiony than some of the other stuff that we've tried. One thing I'll show you is when we get to this parking lot, what the speed bumps are like. The one thing I will say is that everything comes with a compromise. So when you set these dampers up really soft, I usually drive with my steering wheel on my other setups in a comfort steering mode, actually. I don't find that sport mode is actually very sporty. It's a lot of resistance in the steering wheel, so I can't get my vehicles to turn in as sharply as I like them to feel and do their turn in. So when I installed these and I had them set to comfort, every little steering input, the thing would just move a lot. So what I did was I tested out the stiffer steering wheel settings, like standard and sport, and it felt a lot better. It felt a lot more stable, especially at higher speeds. So that is where I suggest you guys set them if you do purchase these coilovers, is don't put them in comfort. You'll see and feel a lot of movement in the vehicle. With the other stuff that I've run, like the MPP fixed damping coilovers, that thing feels super solid. I can put it in comfort mode and I don't feel a lot of movement. With these ones in the rear end, you definitely do feel the suspension kind of compressing in the rear end, moving around a bit more. Not like jumping around, but you'll feel kind of that sway, that lean, that wobble every time you make a turning input into the steering wheel. You'll feel things kind of that weight transition much faster than it would in, say, like the MPP coilovers. But they're very comfortable. I do believe these are the most comfortable coilovers I have tested to date. So you can't have everything. I know that the goal for these coilovers was for the person who didn't want to lower the vehicle and really wanted to try and get the most comfortable kind of Toyota or Honda-like ride quality that they could get. When I did set them stiffer, it still felt very agile and capable of handling. You just can't carry a ton of speed into the corners. It definitely isn't going to be worse than factory in terms of its handling abilities and prowess, but it's not going to be a performance-oriented coilover, which it was not designed to do. So these are all the normal roads that we drive on over here in Fremont, and it's really, really smooth. I really think if you want, as of right now, the most comfortable suspension coilovers you can get, this is very likely it. I mean, all of these little bumps here, it just floats. I don't feel a lot of vibration in the chassis when you go over these reflectors. I mean, it still turns, so I'm really getting this steering wheel to move. I mean, you can still pitch this thing. It just has lean now. All right, so we're about to get into this parking lot. They got some good speed bumps, and I'll show you. There's no way you can do this with factory suspension, or even other coilovers for that matter. All right, so here we go. 21-inch Uber turbines, speed bump, no jostling. I am doing 20 miles an hour, 15 miles an hour, 15 miles an hour. That was it. It was great. I never do that. I'm like, here's 5 miles an hour. 10. One more. It's just amazing. Now I'm going crooked over it, so you can just see exactly how it rocks. So it recovers way, way better than stock. So that's impressive, guys. I will take you guys out on the freeway so I can show you what that's like, and then I'll give you my final conclusion of what I like about these things, and some things you'll want to consider before you go into purchasing them. All right, so we did the street test, went over speed bumps and all that, came back to the office. I am now leaving my office to go home, and we have our infamous driveway. This is on the departure of it. Big bump, big bump. So right there, it takes a bump well, but there is a bit of that kind of wobble in the back of the vehicle. That's something to expect with the softer spring rates and the softer damping. Let's see, should have my tire pressure set to stock. Yep, they're all set to 42. So the goal here is to give you a real good comparison to your stock tires, stock tire pressures. My tires are actually pretty new. I mean, might have 500 miles on them. So on my way home, I've got about 3 or 4 different areas of the highway where there's a separation in the concrete, and there's a big rise and then a dip. So one of the things is on my factory suspension, when we would hit these rises, they're kind of sudden rises, you'd feel an impact. And when I drove these, it just absorbs that stuff. So here we go. We got a little bit of a chicane, still turns in, but you feel lean. There's a big dip right here. Oh, that handled that really good. Didn't upset the chassis, and we turned in. So yeah, it can take on-ramps and off-ramps. I mean, we're super lucky. Our center of gravity is so low on this car. It's almost like it can't handle poorly. You just have so many things in its favor when it comes to handling that you can actually run pretty soft spring rates and it'll still handle really good. You might feel like you want to roll over, but it won't. I'm not sure if you guys have seen those videos of them testing these Teslas. They throw them into a bunch of dirt sideways and they just won't roll over. So the center of gravity is just super low with our battery packs. Yeah, see all of that. It just kind of floats over it. You have a couple of little oscillations, but it really levels out and it absorbs all of that stuff. So here we've got a big, this one's gonna go down. So we're gonna see how that goes. So let's see, here we go, here's the dip. Yeah, so much better. I did not feel a punch to my gut. It felt like a cushion. So that's a lot different than other stuff that we have felt. Here's another one. This one's smaller. Yep. That was like a baby. Just felt normal. But on the factory suspension, I think that's why people don't like their Model Ys, is just things that you should not feel with factory suspension, you absolutely do. There's just so much transmission through the chassis. It's just a horrible experience for people that come from much nicer vehicles. Here we go. Here's another one. Yep. It just cushion. There's like a few more little, oscillations before it resolves and settles out, but I mean, to be expected. It's not like it's the same thing. It reduces every oscillation. The amplitude of it reduces each time, and it just levels out. So that's really nice. There's an upsetting, see, there you go. But it did not hurt me. When this thing was stock, it would hurt me. Now you'll get pains in your neck. I don't know if you guys can relate to that. You just hit these bumps, you get a pain in your gut, your kidneys, or if you hit something that's unsettling, side to side, dip on one wheel, not on the other, you'll feel a kink in your neck. So pretty nice to have something that's cushy. For me personally, I think I like to have something that's not, I do like the comfort, but I still like to be able to have a vehicle that's more sporty, especially with something that has this much power. But this is, I think, exactly what a lot of moms, women would expect. You got, kids in the back seat. They'll certainly appreciate something like this. But for me, I really like to have a sportier feel. So one of the options you could do with this is just stiffen it up like I had done initially. So you could just stiffen things up. But again, you can't negate the fact that you're running a much softer spring rate. So you can stiffen things up, it'll help a bit, but ultimately, you're still gonna have more movement out of this than say something that has a higher spring rate. If you do want a sportier feel, although I haven't tested them, they have the Performance Sport option, which runs a higher spring rate. The purpose for me was to really find super comfy coilover for the Model Y and the Model 3, but really the core market and complaints are all on the Model Y. And this definitely checks off those boxes. So if you guys are interested in this, I will, and I do actually have it published on the website. Like I said, they're around, just under $2,600. There is an option where they can come fully assembled with upper mounts. We are currently testing those right now. So that's pretty neat. We're going to work on some details to see if we can adapt these upper mounts to other coilovers. There's a little bit of math involved. So once we get that all sorted out, might be a really cool option for you guys to not have to take apart your factory suspension anymore. I know that's something that's huge in demand. So again, guys, thanks for watching. We hope that this was informative for you guys. If you guys are looking to spend, the mid $2,500 range, you want something that's really comfortable. As far as what I've tested right now, this will do it. It won't give you that super sporty handling feeling, but it will give you a comfy ride. And they're on the website. So thanks guys for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Check out our Patreon account. It's patreon.com/ZevCentric. We only have one membership fee available. It's $5 a month. and it helps us produce these videos. We could certainly use your support. Thanks. We'll see you on the next one.